Johnny Manziel and Johnny Football, and Johnny Manziel stealing the Heisman away from Manti Te'o if Mike Evans wasn't there. But yeah, receivers named Mike or Michael in the NFL usually do good. Mike Evans, Mike Williams, Michael Escaro. It's all good.
He had to slip in there. By the way, apologies. Thank you for. I'm assuming that was Mama Heather that texted it, or
Both Felipe Hernandez, shout out in our YouTube chat, and Mama Heather reached out and made sure that I knew
and someone
that we
else just
had-
hit us up on our text line
Exactly,
too that it's not
so-
on. So thank you everybody that are tuning in. That
Yeah.
let us be known that the
So
so it was
Especially
completely
men's volleyball new subscribers.
yeah.
we've if you've been a longtime fan of this show, or even a fan of the show for maybe a couple of months now, so now we've had a hot mic and completely ice cold mic, I guess, moments for YouTube shows.
I think we've had the ice cold moments a few
couple of
times, but usually
this
it
one's
gets
a little
caught
more.
I think it was I blame Michael Escaro for standing
it's
up in the
it's
beginning, and I was
Michael's-
like,
it's
what
all
are
Michael's
we
fault,
doing?
100%. No. But welcome into our YouTube viewers, listeners. Thank you for tuning on in. In case you've missed it, we've been talking a little bit of NFL, and that's why Ku and I are wearing our shirts today. We were just talking about Mike Evans and kind of how respectable he's been. More than respectable in Tampa Bay. Really awesome for him to get 1,000 once again. There's been some devaluation of like consecutive 1,000-yard seasons or multiple 1,000-yard seasons, and I do understand that with the increase of games, right? Where it used to be, I think it was 14, now it's 16, or no, then it was 16, now it's 17. Talking about 18, whatever, all this stuff. I don't know. I personally find 1,000 always to be pretty like relevant, to be pretty impressive, because it means you had to stay pretty healthy and you had to do it year over year, and it had to be a legitimate part of an offense, right?
Mhm.
I mean, if 1,000 yards was so easy, we would see every single team with 1,000+ yard receiver, multiple probably 1,000-yard receivers every single year, and it's
And he's had multiple quarterbacks.
well, and that's kind of the thing, right? It's like he did it, yes, with Tom, but he also did it with Baker, and he has done an excellent job for a long time, and kind of like you mentioned, conversely to another star receiver in the same state in Tyreek Hill, where he's fallen off a little bit more in production over the past, at least my fantasy team said so, over the past year, and probably a little bit longer than that. And to be fair to him, he's suffered some pretty bad injuries. He's more of a speed guy, and when you do suffer injuries, that can kind of take a step back. But nonetheless, he's always kind of in the news, where he makes statements and is like he likes to do the Paul and put out the like ambiguous tweets
Yeah.
all the time too. So it's like, you like to see this for Evans, and then post game yesterday as a Jets fan, I love to hear it from Tyreek. Yeah, say more of that, buddy.
Well, for Tyreek, let's not forget that he is a wide receiver, and that this year, before his first game of the season, some people that were doing some egregious actions messed up his wrist. So he was, playing with a bust up wrist the whole
Absolutely,
season.
yeah, I get it.
Anywho, now it's time to pay attention to the teams that are in the playoffs for our YouTube people, the bracket coming in here. So on the AFC side with the playoffs and the matchups, as we've been talking about, they had clinched a couple of weeks ago, but the Kansas City Chiefs, once again, the number 1 overall seed and get the first round bye. And then it'll be the Broncos and Bills, the Steelers and Ravens, and the Chargers and the Texans. That rounds up the AFC side. On the NFC side, you got the Detroit Lions after that trouncing of the Minnesota Vikings yesterday for Sunday Night Football. They received that first round by number 1 overall seed. And then you got the Packers at the Eagles. Please, Zorned, Darnell Arsenal, please do not let your Eagles let me down, and they better beat the Packers in that game. And then you have the Washington Commanders, led by that rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, and the number 3 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I'm quite happy for Tampa Bay, and I love Baker Mayfield. I know he's kind of people are either fans of him or not, but I personally like Baker and what the Tampa has been able to do even after the departure of Tom Brady. And then you have the number 5 seed in the Vikings going over to Michael Escaro's team in the Los Angeles Rams. And just a quick thing on the schedule right here, just so anybody of the fans of the teams know and haven't seen it yet. So the Chargers at Texans game will be on Saturday. So it's this Saturday. That one you guys can watch on CBS or Paramount Plus. The Steelers-Ravens game also on Saturday will be on Prime Video. The Sunday games will be Broncos and Bills. That's on CBS and Paramount Plus. Packers and Eagles will be on Fox and Fox Deportes. Commanders and Buccaneers will be on NBC, Peacock, and Universal, whatever streaming app. And then Monday will be the Vikings-Rams game, and that will be on ESPN and ABC. So I wanted to make sure you guys can look up the times, but just so everyone, it's so weird. I feel like nowadays it's more important to let everyone know what platform it is now instead of, hey, this is the time that it's on. It's all over the place, where at one time maybe it'll be on 2 different stations and on cable. So there you guys go. It's kind of all over the place between a CBS, Prime. Again, Prime is your only game on Prime is the Steelers-Ravens game, which I know a lot of Hawaii fans will be paying attention to because there are a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans here. So make sure you guys know about that. So that's Saturday afternoon, 3:00 p.m. Hawaii time, because I feel like that's the only one that is not on regular cable this weekend for the playoffs games. The other ones you can find on regular cable and then on their streaming partner. Well, not really their streaming platform of these main cable stations. So Prime Video, Steelers fans especially, because I know there's a lot of you out here. That game is on Prime. Woo!
Well, I got a question. I mean, will the playoffs be on YouTube TV and Sunday Ticket? Because I've been seeing them, want to. Oh, like yesterday, it was like, oh, you can get today's all games for $4.99. But is it just that game, or is people that paid for Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, those people that bought that platform, do you think the playoffs are on those platforms, Kool-Aid?
I mean, technically it's on YouTube TV if you're trying to get the cables, because it has CBS. Like, you can get CBS on YouTube TV, Fox, NBC, and ESPN/NBC. So again, it's only the Prime Video one I think you wouldn't be able to get on YouTube TV. So.
Well, okay, so for people that are watching that doesn't want to subscribe to Prime, if I'm not mistaken, if you go on twitch.com and follow Prime TV or Amazon Prime, you can watch the games free on there. That's how I usually watch my Thursday night games, is on Twitch, because you can watch it for free there.
I don't know how many people will go on Twitch.
It's
free.
free.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing that's free. Yeah.
And you might also find Twitch is an awesome platform in general. You might find other stuff that you just enjoy.
You might find me there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, playoff football. Can't wait. Really excited. It's honestly, I will say this. I'm gonna take a second and not joke as a Jets fan. It is kind of nice, just as a football fan, to be able to go in and watch every single playoff, and just kind of genuinely enjoy it for what the games are, not have any real rooting interests. That's why I don't bet on any of the playoff games either, because that would take it away from me. So yeah, I guess that's the one gift that the Jets give me every year, is that I can just enjoy the playoffs completely free and not care about who wins it.
But betting on it just makes it even more enjoyable, as I would say. But because when your team isn't in it, you want to at least be somewhat emotionally invested into the game. Unfortunately, I will not be in Las Vegas from now until the Super Bowl, so that kind of sucks for me. Hopefully, I can live vicariously through our texter from Vegas that always likes to chime in with his picks. But taking a look at the odds right now, the Detroit Lions are still have your shortest odds to win the Super Bowl, plus 280, and to win the NFC at plus 125. The Chiefs are at plus 350 to win it all, and plus 140 to win the AFC. The Ravens the Ravens and Bills are your 6-1 odds to win the Super Bowl, followed by the Eagles at 7-1. So those are kind of like your upper tier or your shortest odds of favorites, because after that there's a significant drop off to the Vikings at 16-1, the Packers at 18-1, Michael Lescaro's Rams, along with the Chargers and Commanders, all the way down at 35-1. But it's not the longest shot, though. So, hey, it's kind of second to the last in terms of the longest shot. So that's the Commanders, Rams, Chargers, 35-1. And then you have the bigger drop-off with the Broncos, Texans, and Broncos and Texans at 80-1. And then the Steelers are at 100-1 to win it all. So no hope in terms of for the Steelers' chances when it comes to the odds makers. And there you have it. I don't mind it. They do, because I mean, the main thing is, like we said, the Steelers do have to go and play at Baltimore. So I think anybody would already think like, yeah, that would kind of explain why they have the longest shot of odds, just because their first road win.
They do historically well against Baltimore. So that is something to monitor, because if Baltimore loses in the playoffs, I guess the Bills are the best chance to prevent the Chiefs from getting to the Super Bowl, because that's not a good matchup for Baltimore.
Are we gonna do a pizza bet now?
I have,
Like I'm sensing pizza bet between the Steelers and Ravens right now.
I always struggle picking between them because, as with most divisional matchups, most real rivalries, it does actually go back and forth because those two franchises do hate each other, and when it's actually in the playoffs, I mean, who the heck knows? So Steelers just been playing not as great football recently as the Ravens. At least that's how it feels to me. That's why I would tend to lead Ravens in that first round.
And I hear you when it comes to divisional opponents, but usually I take that where it's regular season, playoffs. Lamar playing the way that he is.
Then again, Lamar needs to perform in the playoffs. Isn't that like the big narrative around him?
That's the narrative with Josh Allen too, and he's been doing phenomenal in the regular season.
What is the Ravens favored by?
I didn't check that yet, so I don't know.
That will determine if I want to do a pizza bet.
I thought all of this confidence was we were just gonna bet straight up, man. Like, who is gonna win?
So funny.
Anyways, way past the clock. Got to take a break. When we come back, we will switch it back over to some local sports and talk about that really good-looking University of Hawaii men's volleyball team and how well they performed in their opening weekend. Still have some stuff to work on and clean things up, but for the most part, they looked pretty darn good over the weekend. So we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake up in the den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Lescaro. You guys can text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. As thank you to everyone for texting in about us not having the microphone on at the moment. Let me double check. It is on now, so I just need to check. We are streaming on our YouTube like we do every single Monday, but we are live with you guys from 8 to 10 on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Oh, except this Thursday, we got the return. I think we got to double check with HPU, but it should be the return of HPU Sharks Weekly after their holiday hiatus, I guess we should say. But no, I want to get into some University of Hawaii sports now. As man, the men's volleyball team, they looked good, and they actually were, if you guys were there on Friday, and I will play it for you guys in just a second, but if you weren't aware that the men's volleyball team, there were quite a few players that have been that have struggled with either like a stomach bug or something that was going around last week. So Friday, you could tell there was they were a little off, and then just how they looked. Like, I think I texted you guys where I know Eleu Choi was one of the ones that were sick, and he kind of he did look a bit sick and a bit pale in that Friday match, so I know they were struggling a little bit. Even Christian Tetrisky, who had a really good game yesterday, he was a bit off on Friday, but nonetheless, they came back again, 1 in 4 sets, fortunately, on Friday. But then yesterday, were able to sweep the visiting McKendree 25-20, 25-19, and 25-16. And as I mentioned, Tetrisky led the way with 17 kills, hitting at a 448 clip with 2 aces, and didn't commit his first attack error until his 21st attempt. Woo! Adrian War, who also looks phenomenal so far, added 13 kills, heading 478 with 1 ace and 3 digs. So these newbies, or the freshies that we've been able to, or had the high expectations for, because Charlie Wade kept really building them up, they're looking like they're settling in just fine and haven't been afraid or deterred by the big crowd. It's almost like they're feeding off of the fans and the Stan Sheriff Center energy that you guys bring. So it's been phenomenal to see so far. I think McKendree was it's good that they started off with this opponent. Again, number 20th ranked, but you guys can tell the talent level is a little different. But hey, shout out to their head coach. I was actually surprised. I was like, oh, is that a woman? A female head coach for that men's volleyball team? I feel like that's so rare in men's volleyball. So shout out to her. That was really phenomenal to see. And she was like looking fabulous and rocking her heels and everything. So I just needed to throw out that plug to the McKendree head coach. But they looked really, really good. And before we get into some of our thoughts and everything, want to let you guys hear from some of the post-game audio and what head coach Charlie Wade had to say. You'll also hear a little bit of Oppo Christian Tetrisky and setter Tread Rosenthal.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were pretty dinged up on Friday. Obviously, Christian felt a little better today. What'd you have for lunch? Like something good. And just some rest. You know what I mean? Like I said, we didn't have a week of practice at all almost, you know what I mean? It was just kind of disheveled and and again, having a film session when you get to watch your opponent a little bit, and it's hard to play at a high level without having like an opposite that you can lean into, because it gets all kind of one directional, and giving the setter an opportunity to go both directions all the time just takes a lot of pressure off everybody. So, Christian played well. He didn't admit to being 100% yet, so we'll expect more going forward in the future. But it was good to get out there. Like I said, as the match went on, we were kind of clicking, and they played really good. I called that first time out, and they were hitting 818. We were hitting like 300. They made 0 hitting errors in the second set, and through 2 sets, they had 3 service errors. They were serving in bounds at 90+%. That's, near and dear to my heart. I'm like, wow. Really impressive. And smart hitters, you can get frustrated because the blocking numbers aren't coming, but they weren't, again, setter does a nice job and pretty smart. So I thought as we went on, though, we kind of, got in a rhythm and got better defensively. And that's really, for us, is, kind of the next evolution. We know we guys can jump and hit. We know we can serve good from the service line, work on the serving efficiency from the service line, and be better defensively, and that's kind of the direction we want to go.
Yeah, that's true that I felt better today. I think we just played a lot better than the previous game as a team. We made less mistakes, and I just think that as a team we played better, and that's it.
Tread, what's it been like through this 2 games this weekend plus the exhibition to play with this new set of players, new set of weapons coming into this year?
It's been really helpful. I think every game we've gotten better and gotten more used to playing together and more used to playing in the stand in front of all our fans. And just getting better as we go.
Any early thoughts, Coach, about Harvard coming in next week and what they present?
Yeah, we don't have anything on them. Early in the year, they haven't played yet. One of my favorite sayings is smart guys do less dumb stuff. They got a lot of smart guys, so they're probably going to be pretty functional, and they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. And you're going to have to play well to score and to win sets against them.
A lot of talk about growing the game of men's volleyball. I think 7 new programs coming in at this level. Their brand new teams are moving up divisions, and what are you kind of seeing in the world of men's volleyball?
Yeah, they're adding whole new leagues too. It's exciting. Unfortunately, I think I think the D2s are going to break away and have their own championship. I think it's if not when. I wasn't in the room when the MPS decided, like the MPSF, they've added these D2 teams from on the West Coast. But if you look at the schedule, they chose not to play them on a regular. And they even took Concordia, who's been a full-time member for several years now. They've hosted a first-round game. They've been really good, and they're not playing them. They only play like 2 teams, and they make the D2s play each other like 4 times each, which I think is pushing them out the door even faster. Because if you're an AD, like, they're just going to go to the MPSF. They're going to add a couple more and go, let's have our own D2 league. And as it stands today, they'll still get a bid. They'll get an auto bid into because we're a D1, D2 championship. And once their number grows to a point, I think they break away and start their own, to have like what D3 did. They're going to have their own D2 championship, and they're going to leave us back with 20 teams or something of the straight D1 program. So there is some growth, and that's why to me it's important to play. McKendree is a D2 team that moved up. Like you've got to bring them into your gym. You've got to go to their gym, and these teams on the West Coast that they're adding by not playing them, I think you're kind of stifling the growth. I think it's a poor message to send to the ADs about men's volleyball. Like on the West Coast, you're not going to play them. Like it certainly lowers the incentive, that they've had in the past to add teams.
And again, that was men's volleyball head coach Charlie Wade, along with Oppo Christian Tatrisky and setter Tread Rosenthal, following their sweep against McKendree yesterday, and again looked good, getting ready to play Harvard this week. So kind of quick turnaround. Hopefully nobody's sick. Wednesday, Harvard is Wednesday and Friday, and then next week, Wednesday and Friday, it'll be Princeton. But before I kind of kick it to you guys for your outlook and stuff on the matches, these last couple of matches to open up the season, I do want to make sure people know that Charlie was asked about the statement that came out for the men's volleyball team yesterday. I know that everyone's curious about that regarding a player and everything like that, and that they are taking the appropriate actions internally. If you guys were curious about why that statement came up, it was because there was a gesture made on the Spectrum broadcast. It was a double bird. Let's just say that. It was a double bird.
Singing, that's all.
Yeah, it was a double bird on the camera. I won't say who the player is. If you guys want to go and try to find it online, you can. It's there.
Is your
but
right.
Yeah, but I personally do not want to use it to out the player at all. But they are handling things internally, and yeah, just something that needs to be learned from young people and young players, that especially when you're part of this type of program, a program that is very much run like a professional volleyball program, you just can't do that stuff. Young players, and they're gonna do, unfortunately, things like that. But hopefully it'll be best that he'll learn from that mistake. Anywho, getting back out, who wants out? Get your thoughts, Michael, first on what you were able to take away and see from this men's volleyball team through their first couple of matches to start off this season.
Yeah, I mean, we have the weapons, we have the hitters. Coach Charlie said that in the postgame, like, hey, we can do that, but we got to get better defensively. I guess I kind of took a critical turn on this, but this team, we see the talent. They just got to get better playing collectively as a group. I do want to shout out Eleo Choi. He was one that was dealing with some illness. I think he was pale on Friday,
yeah.
But he did a really solid job against McKendree. There was a one server who kind of had this hybrid float serve that was kind of tough for them to handle. But Coach Charlie did give Eleu credit for being in serve receive in that back middle, as well as Adrian Rohr. And Adrian Rohr is probably the guy that he's gonna see the bulk of the sets. But that's because he's just a solid all-around player, and he's definitely on his track to being an All-American for us. And shout out to France, because they keep producing. I mean, when one of your pin hitters that was started towards the end of the year in Louis Sakanoko is on the bench, we have an embarrassment of riches. But shout out to Christian, and whatever pasta he ate, he should start leveraging that NIL deal, But yeah, when you have an opposite that can just go off, Maybe he heard the fans saying, "Oh, when are we gonna see Kyle Wade? When are we gonna see Kyle Wade?" It's like, "Oh, I'm still here, guys. I'm still here."
Yeah, I'm still here. Speaking of, too, if anybody was curious about Kainoa Wade, there is some like paperwork issue. I'm not sure exactly what the specific is, but that's kind of why we haven't seen him yet, at least for the first couple of games. Maybe by next week we'll know whether or not it was because of paperwork, and maybe it's just because Tatriski's playing so phenomenal that you're not going to put Kainoa Wade in there. But British Columbia and this McKendree series has to deal with him just not being eligible to go onto the court. So we'll hopefully monitor and see what happens with Kainoa Wade throughout the next couple of weeks. But yeah, at least like how to echo what Michael said, it's like Tatriski didn't play so well. I know, like, for the fans watching, and because McKendree was definitely not at the caliber of teams that Hawaii will face in conference, but he was still kind of off figuring everything out, still dealing with the sickness. Yeah, hope ate pasta, and that worked for him. But for him to look that much better on Sunday, and maybe motivated by that paperwork almost coming through for Kainoa Wade. So there you go, you got to step up. But this is exciting for a lot of these fans to see. And Charlie mentioned it, I don't know if it was in yesterday's presser or Friday's, but he did mention, kind of echoing the similar thing that we heard from like Robin, where it's a new look team. So there are going to be these kind of like up and down games, up and down moments. I'm sure there will be sets that it's just like, whoa, it'll change drastically from one set to another. But it's just because they're working in all of the new players and all of the talent that we have. I mean, we didn't even talk about like Clay Weeder. And so they've all been contributing, and they've it felt like the excitement level just picked right back up where we left off.
Yeah, I mean, this is the premier program at UH, at least in my opinion, right? You look at it, and that's not to disrespect any of the other, sports. I think there are a lot of really great teams. But this is one where the standard is a little bit different. It's why Michael's first inclination wasn't to give praise to giving 2 wins over 7 total sets, but was actually to kind of look at, all right, yeah, it was really fun, it was good, but there were still moments where it was imperfect. And that's, what we'll continue to do, and that's what they will do as well, because their standards are higher than just winning, right? They want dominance. That's why you saw after a 4-set win on Friday, and they weren't necessarily pleased with it. They come out and now Sunday, I mean, an excellent performance. I'm impressed by the service line and how much of a weapon that's going to be able to be for Hawaii this year. It felt like there were times in that first set and a little bit in the second as well where you just didn't see them necessarily have the full efficiency of their attack outside of Tatriski, who, by the way, in the first set, he was 8 for 10 on swings. He was a monster all night, but it was really right from the jump. But outside of him, others were still trying to kind of figure it out, and some quality trips to the service line, a few aces. They go a long way, and that was the case on night 1. It's the case now in match number 2, and something that I expect to see going forward. I would love to see the block be a little bit more effective. It felt like both nights it didn't really pick up for Hawaii, at least in terms of effectiveness, until like the 3rd set-ish. And even then, it still wasn't necessarily what we've been used to at times, seeing with, the Manoa Roofing Co. and all of these things. And it's not because of lack of talent, kind of like you guys alluded to. There is, I mean, an embarrassment of riches on this team. You have the junior national team for the U.S., they're starting opposite, coming off the bench, or outside, coming off the bench in Finn Kearney as your service specialist, right? Like, this is such a fun team, an exciting team, a young team that, like you mentioned, Charlie said on Friday, it's a group that is so talented that even during the times that they're still figuring it out, trying to piece it together, they're still going to be able to win games, but they're going to have to fight in some, and other nights their talent will just kind of take them over the top. I'm really excited to see what the year holds. I mean, this Harvard team coming in should also be a quality test. They received votes in the season opening AVCA coaches poll, so another one of those. We always talk about like the teams, so I'm interested with that. There's nothing that they have on them, so it's always fun at the start of the year when you're facing off against unfamiliar faces. I'm excited. Also, by the way, for any of you who might have missed, like we mentioned, the full availability, you can go onto our YouTube channel, which we're also streaming live on right now.
So don't go away from here.
Exactly. And you can check that out later on today, along with plenty of other media availabilities, some awesome little
Highlights.
I was going to say some awesome little highlight videos that Michael's starting
Someone
to produce.
commented that they wanted more highlights. Apparently, they were like,
Okay.
"Where's all the full highlights?" It was on like the one from Friday, I think, and they're like, "Where's the link for the full highlights?" I'm like, "That was a lot of highlights that our Michael Iscaro put together." I don't know. I'll show it to you during a break.
Well, I do want to go back to Paul's point about the blocking, because Coach Charlie did bring up like how he wishes it was better. I think in the first 2 sets on Friday night there was just one, but I think that just goes to show you what a good test McKendree was. I know we talk about the rank being 20, and I think they were a D2 school moving up to D1 in the MIVA and whatnot, but they had a great setter in Nathan later that, they knew who they were. They knew, hey, we're not going to beat Hawaii in a rock'em sock'em, power game, right? That which, when we play the upper echelon teams, I know when Irvine comes in Long Beach, when Irvine with Hano, we get UCLA, I think, coming in as well. When we play those teams, we see those higher, quicker tempo, higher power velocity that we love from the men's volleyball game. But McKendree, again, their head coach is a woman, right? She was the assistant for the women's team before she became the head coach. And hey, they know, hey, we gotta be scrappy defensively, and we gotta be smart with our attacks. So that's kind of why our blocking numbers were down. If for those that are box score watching, it's because they were very smart, and I think that's what Coach Charlie wants from this team first and foremost, is being more cerebral and less terminal. We kind of saw it last year when Spiros went down, where you had Keone come in and just try to like bound every ball. But hey, sometimes you're not the tallest guy, so the block, they're gonna use that against you, and you're gonna get blocked. Or we have Louis come in and just be erratic from the service line, and that was one thing that Coach Charlie mentioned in the first match, was that, hey, we need to get our serves in. We missed a couple because they did give up a lot of they lost a lot of momentum just giving up service errors in the first match. But the second match they cleaned up on that. So I know McKendree's not the top opponent, but it forced, or it really tested our team's patience to be more smart up here than using that testosterone fueled that power and ability that we love from men's volleyball.
Yeah, and they'll start to get tested down the stretch. Like I said, I like how their kind of schedule is laid out so far, gearing them up to play some of these top opponents, at least according to the initial ABCA poll. So up next, as we mentioned, they play Harvard this Wednesday and Friday. Next week, Wednesday and Friday, they play Princeton before going on their first road trip of the season at BYU, where they will face a former Rainbow Warrior in Keone Thim. So that will be on January 31st and February 1st. Then they come back and play Stanford. They go back on the road, and then they play their first Big West opponent, UC Irvine, on February 28th. And then that'll be right before they gear up for the Outrigger Volleyball Invitational, in which they will face a new number of I think they were like all top 10 actually in the preseason poll, in Ball State, Penn State, and USC. And then the Big West Conference officially gets started against UC San Diego on March 28th. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. All right, going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will talk a little bit about the women's basketball game. Again, the Rainbow Wahine able to beat Cal Poly on the road, getting that split as they turn around and come back home. So coming out with a 62-50 win over the Mustangs. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den alongside Paul Brecht, Michael Escaro. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani. Mahalo for tuning in this and every weekday morning from 8 to 10 and streaming live every Monday like we are right now on our YouTube channel. You guys can text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481, or as you guys do so well, comment on our live YouTube stream. So shout out to everyone that's commented so far. Hello, Felipe Hernandez and Mama Heather. I know you guys messaged us earlier regarding the sound, so we are still all good with the sound. And obviously, shout out to our guy, Chad Nelson, who earlier he said, go Rams, because we were talking about the NFL playoffs. And Justin Baptiste, someone that we work with sometimes at the University of Hawaii from Guava Press Media. Aloha, everyone, and happy Aloha Monday. Happy Aloha Monday to everyone as well. And if there's anything that we love more on Mondays and after a weekend of a ton of UH games, it's wins. So we talked about the men's volleyball team coming out with a pair of wins to open up the regular season. And now I want to switch over to the women's basketball side. The Rainbow Wahine coming back with a 1 win and a loss from their road trip, but we're able to beat Cal Poly on Saturday 62-50. And I kind of made a joke with Paul when the game was going on this past Saturday, because on Friday's show we were recapping the loss and how I was saying, well, it's kind of surprising that Meilani McBee, she didn't really take as many shots. You want to see her live up to McKendree and at least shoot more attempts. She only had 2 field goal attempts, made 1, so it's something that probably should have taken more shots. And she heard us. She heard us. Meilani McBee hit 3 3-pointers and was among 3 UH players in double figures with a season-high 14 points to help end their 3-game losing skid. Lili Wahine Kapu finished with 14 points and set a season best with 7 assists. And Brooklyn Brewers added 11 points, including a 3-pointer late in the third quarter to help fend off Cal Poly's comeback, because they kept scrapping. I'm not going to lie. This Cal Poly team, Paul and I, when we were previewing the game, we were saying that, hey, they can't take this team too lightly. But fortunately, with the Rainbow Wahine, they just kind of found their groove. Still, we saw the return of Jovi Lefotu, so that was good to see, but still did not see Imani Perez, Kelsey Imai, who else? Daniela Kujovic. So there are still significant pieces. And as we like to joke, but completely serious, we will try to get you updates on their potential playing status, but it is the best kept secret that Coach Beeman likes to keep from all of us in the media. Even some of us that we feel like, we have more of an inside scoops to women's basketball when it comes to player statuses. That is something that we can never find out for any of you guys. But fortunately, they didn't need all of those players. And again, it was good to see Jovi back, but they looked a lot better. Good bounce back win. Didn't want to come back from. It's always hard to win on the road, no matter who you're playing. But you always want to kind of go into these road trips and come back home with a split. So fortunately, the Rainbow Wahine were able to do that. So a good bounce back from that loss on Thursday.
Yeah, that's something you and I had talked about last week, where it's unfortunate the way that Hawaii has started Big West play. It's unfortunate that they went through those losing streaks. It's unfortunate that they've suffered all of these injuries. All of that doesn't matter, though, because you still had 18 games left in your conference season to completely flip things around. This was the start of that, right? And I thought it was encouraging to see them look as good as they did, where the defense got back to the standard that we got used to seeing over the non-conference, pre that, the San Diego Invitational or San Diego Classic, pardon me, I don't remember which one it was. There's so many tournaments. But the defense is back, right? They hold Cal Poly to 5 total points in the second quarter. They hold them to 17 total points between the second and third quarters. Just a vice grip, right? And that's where you see Hawaii take control of the game. And that's kind of been the formula for the Rainbow Wahine this season, where the first quarter they start to feel things out, figure it out offensively, defensively, whatever. And then in that second quarter, in that third quarter and beyond, it's like, all right, now the defense is going to go to another level. Now the offense is starting to figure it out. Now we're getting stuff from our defense that converts into offense. It was overall just a very nice performance from Hawaii, and it's something that they needed to do. You need to split on the road at the very least if you're not going to sweep. You can't have 0-2 road trips. It's just a simple fact of the matter, and I'll say the same thing this week as we get into previewing games, and I know that'll come later in the week, but now as the men go on to the road for the first time since a disastrous road trip the first time, 0-2, where you almost come back to beat Grand Canyon and then have an embarrassing performance against Long Beach State, giving up so many three-pointers and such a high percentage from three. You can't have that happen again, especially now that conference play is fully in. So a nice job by the Rainbow Wahine securing a victory there. And like you mentioned, seeing Jovi Lefotu back was... I personally was shocked by it. Like, I had to look back at the screen like 3 or 4 times to make sure that it wasn't me, like, misseeing Lily in some way, or, like, Kelsey was back on the floor, or, like, any of these other guards was that, because I really thought Jovi was lost for at least, weeks. And instead, she comes back, the first one to come back out of the trio that kind of left in that game, or since that game. So, really encouraging. Also, last thing, I thought it was really encouraging to see them be able to win without Imani Perez, who I know we've kind of, I don't want to say been disappointed in her production this year, but we've been like, oh, she has not necessarily been as prominent a force as we've seen her be in previous years. And, even despite that, you see at times she's such a glue piece for this team, where her rebounding, her shot blocking, her ability to move the ball, her unselfishness, her 3-level score. Like, there's a lot that she does that might be just a little bit unappreciated, and we kind of saw that on Thursday, right? And now on Saturday, they come back, they prove they can win without Imani against a quality opponent in Cal Poly, and in a lot of ways held down Cal Poly in impressive ways. I think, let's see, trying to find her, Annika Shaw, held her to 5 points. It's the second lowest output of the year by her. That she's 4th leading scorer in the entire conference. So it was far more like the UH team we've come to know and love than the one that we necessarily have seen over the last 3 or so outings.
Yeah, I think Lily also did a good job managing the game. I think she had 7 assists. Usually that's a high assist number. You don't usually see that from her because she does need to score, but she did even score. I think she got 14 and 7. So that was really good to see from your point guard. I do want to shout out Mia Uhila. Is that her?
Yes.
Because she's kind of stepping into her role now, or finding herself with Kelsey and Maya. I think she was the leading scorer in the loss on Thursday, and then she got 9 points again on Saturday. So she averaged over 10 points a game in these past 2 games. So she's definitely one that's kind of also coming along, and I think her and Brooklyn has some good chemistry in that second unit. So. Again, this at the start of the year, like men's volleyball, right? This was an embarrassment of riches in terms of depth. Now that we see that the depth is being tested with the injuries, now you see some players kind of stepping in and kind of finding themselves and where they fit in this team and this offense.
Yeah, and I'm glad, John, good thing you brought up the shout out to Mia Uhila, because you're right. She's probably the one that stood out the most through the last couple of games, just because we haven't seen a lot of her. But yeah, like you said, at least the depth is getting tested, and Mia has been finding her groove so far in that Rainbow Wahine lineup. So coming up for the Rainbow Wahine, they do I lost my page. Sorry. They UC Riverside. I didn't want to say the wrong way. So UC Riverside on Thursday, and we will have your full previews to come out later on this week. But UC Riverside right now, they won this past weekend against UC Irvine, 59-54, so a really, really close one. And then they had lost right before that to Long Beach State, 63-48. And just a really quick look at the Big West Conference standings. Again, still super, super early, but at the top, you have UC Davis and Long Beach State, both undefeated in conference, followed by Riverside at 3-1. Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, and UC San Diego all at 2-1. And then Hawaii at 1-2. Cal Poly, CSUN 1-3, and Cal State Fullerton and Cal State Bakersfield still looking for their first win, or Big West Conference win, that is. And Bakersfield still looking in for for their first win overall, unfortunately. So maybe hopefully they won't end up being the Cal Poly of the men's, how the Cal Poly team was last year and just didn't garner any wins. And definitely don't want them to get any wins against us. That's for sure. All right, coming up in hour number 2, we will get into some high school sports conversation. And last week it was released, but as I mentioned to open the show, we wanted to save it for our YouTube show. The Scoring Live All OIA football selections from the Open Division, Division 1, and Division 2. We'll also chat a little bit about Jaron-Keawe Sagapolutele's decision to opt into doing his original commitment and going to Cal. Entered the transfer portal last week. The decision came pretty early, and the announcement that he would, in fact, be going back to his original choice that he made in July and going to Cal. Then we'll get into some men's basketball conversation as they came out with a win against Cal Poly as well. So still a lot more. We'll be right back for hour number 2 here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht and Michael Lescaro. Hope you guys are having an amazing Aloha Monday. Unfortunately, the craziness of traffic hasn't begun just yet, but it will be back next week. So with a lot of the schools going back, including the public schools, but we got a lot of coverage for you guys. We'll get into some high school football in just a second, but I just realized I forgot to tell everybody about one of the fun encounters that I had on, what was that, Thursday night? Yeah. No, Saturday night. I was able to meet the new president in Wendy Hensel, so that was nice, and it was nice to win a unofficial bet against Michael Lescaro, where I was saying that I think this was when I wasn't sure when her first day was or whatnot, but I was saying that it would look really good on her if she would show up to the men's basketball game and kind of let it be known that she was there. And boy, she was sitting in the president's seats out there on the baseline on the UH side of the bench. She even posted on Twitter. I'm like, what? We have a president of the UH of the university that is active on Twitter too. So that was pretty refreshing to see with her and her husband at the men's basketball game. I wasn't sure if she made it to men's volleyball. Did you guys see her at men's volleyball yesterday at all?
I did not, but I was also, to be totally fair, I was not outwardly looking for her. I was doing other things.
Yeah, and to be fair, I did get there in the middle of the second set. So.
That's fine. But anyway, she did make an appearance, her first athletic event, I believe, that Saturday. And I know there was a Twitter user that wasn't exactly thrilled with the verbiage that I use, but it's true. Like, I got a chance to meet her, talked a little bit, met her husband, and she gave off like good vibes. Again, there's a lot left to be seen, but I think women's intuition is real, and sometimes you can just tell of like the initial vibe that somebody gives you. And she seemed very, very genuine in the way that she carried herself and she spoke. And it was kind of funny because I know this was an issue beforehand where people were saying, is she even a sports fan? All of that stuff. And you guys will appreciate what she said, especially you, Paul. She's like, of course I'm a sports fan. I went to Michigan State. So it was very, like I said, very genuine, but that's why I thought of Paul, and because his sister goes to Michigan State, and there you go. So Wendy Hensel, got a chance again to meet her, and yeah, so far so good. I don't know exactly yet about some people were asking if I asked her about Craig Angeles. There were other people around that did bring up the topic, and she is very well aware of it. My impression from her is that she is very much her own person. So that's what we were saying, where it's good to have somebody else that comes in that isn't swayed immediately by whatever the hui is that runs like the university that we saw with the Eagles come into place with the firing of Craig Angeles. So hopefully it'll all be okay. But I wanted to kind of share that with everybody because that was nice to meet, again, the new president that came in, and just the vibe, the initial vibes. She passed the initial vibe check for now, more than President Lassner.
No, you gotta mention your whole Twitter spat with the word vibe.
I
did.
did kind of mention it. It's not worth completely going all out.
I'm over here. Oh man, it's funny because I think you shouldn't have brought it up because now I'm over here stewing because what a stupid response.
Journalism.
Yeah. First off, post your face, Greg. Anyway, what a ridiculous. Oh my God. Sorry,
See, exactly.
I'm gonna move forward. No, she seemed very nice from the few moments that I got to kind of be around her this past weekend. Obviously, there's way more to the job than being nice and whatnot, but apparently we're not allowed to acknowledge that. She has a good vibe. Sorry, anyway, no, she seems good. I mean, I'm going to be positive, right? Here's the thing. When you have the ending that we just had, right? No one mourns the wicked, right? Is that a reference I can make right now still? So goodbye to the old. I am looking forward to what the new can be. You know, it's the same reason why fans They get excited about a head coach before they know anything about him because they sit there and they're like, they just want to be excited about something. That's how I would feel going into this. And here's the thing. I know more than just nothing about the new president. So I'm excited. I hope she does a real nice job. And I'm excited to see what the future holds. Like you kind of mentioned, there's something about if you are a higher ranking official, whether it's in higher education, whether it's being government, whatever, there's something about having an active presence on social media that draws me to you, where I'm like, okay, maybe you do get it a little bit.
Yeah, she took a full-on selfie too with her husband, saying they were at the game, and then after the game, she was taking pictures with the cheerleaders, similar to what Craig Angelis used to do as well. And so again, the initial first impression check passes for the new president, Wendy Henso. And I know athletics is just a small portion of her job, but nonetheless, she is technically the boss of athletics because of the restructuring that happened by that other guy that is thankfully gone and out the door. So she is technically the overall boss and will have the decision, a significant hand in the decision on who comes in as the new athletics director, because I can imagine, right? Since she is the boss of athletics for UH Manoa, she wants to set herself up for success, and whether she thinks that is bringing Craig Angelis back or seeing who the other candidates are to come in to take over for that athletics director position, this is an important decision to be made by the president. I know she still obviously has to worry about the overall, all of the institutions across the state and definitely academics, and I know the agriculture and everything like that. But because the way that it's structured now for UH Manoa is that athletics does fall directly under her, so I can imagine that the process and the decision on what to do with that athletics director position will not be taken lightly by Wendy Henso. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. She passed the initial first impression check, and I can assure you that she did say she is a sports fan because of that tie to Michigan State. So that was refreshing to hear, and seemed like she stayed the whole game. I think Michael and I were talking about, well, she just has to show face if anything. I know she's busy, but hey, shout out to her. She stayed the whole game. Again, that photo with the cheerleaders was after the game, so she stayed around. And I just wanted to
after the post-game media avail, because I had the opportunity after talking with coach and all of them to still kind of be around. It was a long night in the stand for her. I'll say that.
So there we go. And we'll see what happens, but at least there's that refreshing change in leadership, and we are going to hope for the best and be as supportive as we can. But you guys know what we want to happen at that athletic director position. All right, going over to other college news, as we kept mentioning, Jaron-Keawe Sagapolutele, a former quarterback at Campbell High School, had announced that he was going to enter the transfer portal last week. And then on Friday's show, Paul and I already alluded to the fact that I'm pretty sure he's going to go back to Cal, because he realized that, you go to Oregon, and he was there on the sideline at the Rose Bowl and kind of figuring out that, hey, it's going to be Dante Moore, that it was likely going to take over the helm for Dylan Gabriel, and kind of going back to things that he had said beforehand back in July, just being the culture at Cal. I know there was a change at the offensive coordinator position, but he seemed like he was content with that decision of choosing Cal when he made it at July. Now, Oregon wasn't even in the picture back in July. I believe it was Utah State, Oregon State, and Boise State. Is that correct, Michael? Do you remember? I think those. And
Nevada.
And Nevada. No, but not this top four though, right? I feel like it was Cal, Oregon State, Utah State,
and
Nevada was the fourth one.
Nevada.
Okay, Nevada was the fourth
I really
one.
only remember just the two of Oregon State and Cal.
Yeah.
Where those were the two fan bases fighting.
So chose Cal, and then Oregon comes into the picture late. Then we saw Georgia come into the picture late, and then Jaron made that last-minute flip on signing day last month in December, and
Colorado
it was
didn't make his Final Four.
I don't know if he was actually offered. He took an unofficial to Colorado when he went to Colorado.
I know Colorado really wanted him at one point, so that was the only reason for my surprise right there.
It's only because I was just looking at your photos from last week, and I was like, hey, what are the pictures that are on the front of the table? And that's what my brain can remember of what I saw. But no, then he went to Oregon, again, enrolled in Oregon last month, so that's why he had to actually enter into the transfer portal instead of just simply being able to go to Cal instead. So had to go into the transfer portal, and then the decision on where he would go next didn't take too long, and then the announcement came that he was going to go to Cal. No surprise to any of us in this studio, really. And Paul and I were talking about it last week, Friday, that I think that's a perfect situation for Jaron, and I'm glad that he's going to end up there. I know people will take it how they must with everything that's going on, and we made sure to mention that I don't think it has anything to do with Jaron being necessarily afraid of quarterback competition, but if you have a bigger chance or a better chance to play right away as a true freshman somewhere, I mean, you can overlook some of the other things. Like, yes, people will look at the money that Oregon could potentially offer in NIL. And Cal, it's not like they're broke. It's not like they can't offer him anything. But yes, the payout in the long run will probably be bigger at Oregon. But as we've kind of established, once this NIL thing and paying players, once it starts to settle down a little bit, you'll start to see more and more that a lot of these players realize, like, oh, it's probably better that I go somewhere that I actually can play. And for Jaron, the ability to play right away, because we mentioned it earlier, like one of their quarterbacks is out of eligibility, another one transferred out. They didn't land anyone significant in the transfer portal. So for Cal, he's looking at that like, hey, yeah. And then Paul luckily brought up also, you got a former Hawaii coach in Nick Rolovich that's there helping out on the offensive side. So even though there's a change at the coordinator position, at least there's some familiarity and someone that is pretty proven in coaching at the Division I level that is at least in the room, being that Nick Rolovich. So I think it's the right decision for Jaron. I know, like I said, there'll be whatever chatters and whatever they're going to say, but all in all, I like to see him go back to where he initially wanted to, where his gut feeling before the season started, because that was one thing too, right? He said he made that choice because he wanted to not worry about it during his final high school season. And then the Georgia-Oregon thing happened, and I think he just it was just a lot, and then went with Oregon because it felt like, okay, yeah, I can go there. And then now it's kind of started to settle in when he finally got to Oregon. Like, I don't want to be here. And you talked about it too, Paul. Like, that's the difficult part. These are young people making these big time decisions. So, hey, a young person just out of high school didn't exactly make the best decision at the moment when all the pressure's on. So I can't fault him for this happening at all. And I do love that it feels like he is where he always and originally wanted to be.
Yeah, I like pretty much put it perfectly, right? Where I really felt like he was going to Cal up until actual signing day. You know, we had talked about it a bunch, and it had felt like Oregon was coming on really, really strong, and it felt like there were a lot of outside sources telling Jaron, go to Oregon, right? There was one very specific outside source who likes to try and play kingpin when it comes to a lot of these talented boys here in Hawaii and in Polynesian descent in general, who took a victory lap afterwards. This seems like where Jaron's heart always was. And I know that there was the firing of the offensive coordinator right before signing day, which, by the way, what the heck, guys? I really do believe his reasonings behind, like, originally committing to Oregon. I think it's fair to think that that would have been his dream school growing up in a lot of ways, where you see Marcus is there, and then you see Dylan go there. And we've talked about it before. The Hawaii influence at Oregon in general is pretty significant, where you get that offer and all of a sudden you're like, well, yeah, maybe. And then you get a bunch of people in your ear telling you, yeah, go. And you end up, going back on what your gut told you to do originally. And Jaron seemed very at peace with his decision. And Michael, maybe you can correct me, seemed very at peace with his decision of Cal when he announced it. It seemed like that was where he was ready to go and whatnot. And Michael's talked about it before, where he wanted to have everything set, cut and dry before the season was going, so that he could just focus on being a kid one more time, focus on being a senior, focus on trying to win a state championship. And then obviously all of the jumbled mess of recruiting comes in at it late. I'm glad he goes to a place that he seemed to really like to begin with. I'm glad that he goes to a place where there is a real opportunity for him to get on the field right away. And I'm glad he's going to a place where, I mean, let's just be real. Cal needs him too. Like, both sides need each other in this. This is a great partnership, and what should have happened in the first place, it just took a little bit longer. And that's okay, like you mentioned. What one of us as kids did not make a mistake and make a much dumber mistake probably at 17 years old? I know I can't raise, I can definitely raise my hand. I've made bad decisions then. So no, I'm glad he's happy. I'm glad everybody seems happy. And I hope people kind of take it easy on social media, because I see some people where they just go in so much and I'm like, relax, brother.
Haters.
Yeah, and Cal was his decision. And I was actually surprised that he wanted to commit in the summer, because if you looked at his offers, right, look at his Final Four, like Utah State. I mean, they did smash Hawaii. Oregon State, who is playing at the time in the Pac-2. They didn't even have a conference that we didn't even know was going to go in their conference. And you have Nevada, who hasn't been the best team in the West the past couple of years. And so Cal seemed like a no-brainer when he committed, because that was probably the most high-profile school that was into him. And, that's why I was surprised he committed, because I know if he just waited out, there's be more schools that would come in, as we saw with Oregon and with Georgia and whatnot. But again, Jaron was really dead set on making that decision early on. So it wasn't a distraction. Sorry, but he goes 8-0 as a starter at Campbell. They have an undefeated regular season. They beat Kahuku at Kahuku.
That was awesome.
The last Hawaii quarterback to do that was Dylan Gabriel. But after that, they have a bye week. He takes an official visit to Oregon. The following week, in the playoff game against Kapolei, they were on the verge of losing that game. They were down. And you had the Cal head coach, Justin Wilcox, as well as the OC that got let go, Mike Blausch, in attendance on the sideline. And the thing is, they were there. Also, they were going to see LeBron Williams and Aiden Monotai, which, got to point out, there are more Hawaii players going to Cal. So we don't know. We maybe got to give a little shout out to Aiden Monotai and LeBron Williams from Kahuku for maybe convincing Jaron to go back to Cal. But they flew in, and they flew out that same night. They just wanted to show face, with their quarterback of the perceived future. And as Paul said, there was outside sources. And then from what I talked to people in the know in my Twitter DMs, that has more connections, they were telling me, yeah, it's crazy. It wasn't his decision to go to Oregon. Paul mentioned somebody that was taking a victory. Like, I'll mention his name. That's Big Dave Wangalele that was using the whole Polynesian card. You got to do it for your family. But that's because his son is the Mateo Wangalele is the one of the edge rushers for Oregon. So, but again, I think we look at the signing day as like the times of past, but with NIL, it's really just a athletic aid package, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a binding agreement like in the past. And for those saying, oh, why didn't you honor your commitment? Again, the commitment, when you make a verbal commitment, it's almost like an engagement, right? When you propose to someone. Mm-hmm. But if you find out the day before the marriage, hey, by the way, I got skeletons in my closet. Whoa, that's going to take you pause, right? They fired their OC. I mean, maybe fire your OC the day after signing day? But anyways, I do want to point out that one of Cal's quarterbacks did enter the transfer portal within the hour. So Jaron seems like he has the inside track to playing right away. And from the quarterback position in college football, you do need to get on the field, because that's if you are chasing a bag, just putting it out there, because college football is a business. You have to play. You have to get your field. I mean, we see it with Devin Dampier from New Mexico to Utah. Like, that's the inside track to getting paid, so to speak, is to get yourself out there on the field. And at Cal, Jaron has the ability to do that. And again, for all this, you're training. Why didn't you honor your commitment? Why, education, blah blah blah. Like, bruh, like, unless you've been in that position, you cannot talk. Yeah. Because again, these are still teenagers. Yeah.
And that's why I love and appreciate that Jaron did make this decision, because it does feel like this was his own. And yeah, if you're chasing the bag, then that's fine. But a talent like Jaron and the size that he is, and seeing that people like Marcus Mariota and Tua Tagovailoa have been able to have a sustainable career so far in the NFL, like that's your end goal. So whatever extra money he's forgoing at Oregon, it could be worth it. And if he is able to get on the field right away at Cal, have all of that playing time, and then parlay it into a NFL career and hopefully being a top draft pick. Like I said, we saw Tua get that big payday. We see Marcus continue to just be still in the NFL. I mean, hey, you want to pay me a couple $1 million to sit on the bench and when I'm getting quote unquote older? Why not? You know what I mean? So that's why both quarterbacks have made a good life for themselves in the NFL. And I'm sure Jaron, that's what he's looking at. So he wants to get out on the field. But I want to talk about something else that we saw Jaron's name, no surprise there, as the Scoring Live all OIA football selections came out last week, but Jaron-Keawe Sagapolutele, a quarterback out of Campbell High School, no surprise there, making it at the top of the open division for Offensive Player of the Year. As I bring up our graphics real quick, the nice graphics that Michael made over here for us on our YouTube channel. So Offensive Player of the Year, Jaron-Keawe Sagapolutele, and Defensive Player of the Year, that one of the players that Michael just mentioned, Aiden Manutai, the DB out of Kahuku, and then Coach of the Year, Darren Johnson out of Campbell. Those are your top selections for the Scoring Live Open Division or all OIA selections. And you can go to scoringlive.com to see the full list of the first team, the second team, and honorable mentions. Again, there's a ton. Michael also put together some very nice graphics for our social media, so you guys can go check it out at High Sports Radio. But I feel like there really is no surprises. I mean, you just shouted out Aiden Manutai again, not a second ago, to talk about how good he has been so far. And yeah, you guys got to go check it out on scoringlive.com.
Yes. Yeah. So with the open division, sorry, cool. I just had to put out a tweet. You'll see it and you'll like it. Yeah, I do want to. I mean, the open division kind of gets their love, so I do want to kind of talk about D1 and D2. And
all right, so I will.
We're still
okay.
open. Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Open division. Yeah, it was really, a lot of talented players. I do want to shout out Ben Roberts. He was kind of an edge. He probably deserved to be first team, but there just wasn't enough. They just had to make a decision. I also want to shout out interior lineman for Kuku, Sione Pase, that is deserving of second team. It's just there's just so many good players. I mean, you have Zayden Maritanangi that's going to the University of Hawaii. He's a second teamer, but he's probably a first. It's just there's just that many good players. But yeah, Aiden Manutai, shout out to that guy because he is the reason. I mean, he had the block field goal and return for a touchdown that sent Kahuku event to the state championship game because other than that, Minalani would have been in the state championship game. And Minalani, they had a really talented team. I know coming in this past season, it's like, oh, the offense with Keenan McMillan, but their defense is legit. EJ Tepeni, he's going to be one of the top coveted linemen next year. Their edge rusher, Chevy Robinson, he's going to a small school, but don't surprise if you see his name on a D1 level someday. Their linebacker, Isaiah Uwasefa, who won a state title with Waipahu a season ago, he's going to Arizona State. Arizona State is, with Scatabo and their young head coach, that's definitely a name, a program on the rise. And cornerback Timothy Wallace going to Army, so it's a very talented group. And Kapolea as well. Leotama Amasone got in as the offensive flex in first team and second team quarterback. He again, I'm gonna dread when Hawaii plays San Jose State because he is gonna wreck us.
Whoa!
I'm just
Why are
being
you gonna
honest.
say that?
That kid's
he is good, but our defense is good too.
It is.
Well, the way not to dovetail the conversation, but we are gonna be in shootouts next year. Let's just put it that way.
Good. I love it. All right, let's get to Division 1 now. For again, this is the Scoring Live all OIA football selections for Division 1. Your Offensive Player of the Year, Cameron Eve, running back out of Lelehua, and Defensive Player of the Year, Gabriel Liua, edge rusher out of Lelehua, and then Coach of the Year, Fred Salanoa out of Radford. So you had mentioned it. You wanted to get into some of the D1, D2 stuff. So what are your thoughts and takeaways from the all OIA Division 1 football selections?
Yeah, well, first of all, for those that look into fancy graphics online, I couldn't find a current picture of Fred Salanoa because for reasons, I was like, oh man, I really want to put this Coach of the Year graphic. And shout out to all the Radford fans on Instagram because they kept sharing that. But yeah, Jaron-Keawe, the offensive player of the year, there are a lot of names in consideration. At the quarterback position, both quarterbacks, Isaiah Kionui DeMello from Kailua and Ben Strobel, after Ben Strobel took the starting job, they deserve it. I mentioned Slater Kaleohi from Waianae running that Wildcat quarterback, as well as Jace Barang at Moanoa, who pretty much is deserving as well of the award. He could have won it as a freshman as well. But, Jaron-Keawe was kind of one of one at his position at running back. Defensively, Gabriel Lua, he also can kind of stand up and be a pass coverage. So this year, I think with the OA, I think this is the first year we actually kind of differentiate with having edge rushers and rovers because there's football is versatile now. So you cannot put them in a box. Sometimes they play multiple roles, and calling them an edge because not an edge rusher but just an edge because they can either set the rush the passer or also drop back from the outside linebacker spot. But yeah.
Yeah, all right. Going on to Division II now. Again, this is the Scoring Live All OIA football selections released last week, so you guys can go and check it out at scoringlive.com. But just kind of recapping some of the top players that got selected and everything like that. So Offensive Player of the Year for Division II, Keawe Davis, wide receiver out of Roosevelt High School. Defensive Player of the Year, Tea Nuihiva Santos, linebacker out of Kaiser. And Coach of the Year, Tim Seaman, the head coach for the Kaiser Cougars football team. And yeah, shout out to Kaiser. I mean, they finished 10-3 this year, 7-2 in league play, lost to Kamehameha Schools Maui in the Division II state championship game after only winning 5 games total last year. So we had talked about this throughout the season, how there was just a lot of parity in Division II, and sometimes it can be a bit more exciting in Division II and Division I as well.
Yeah, and then I think also in Division II we have a fullback position because with Castle moving down from D2, they pretty much ran that I formation. I know we have one of their games on demand, and I know Paul and Kyle was really like, man, this is such an old school team with a fullback, and you get a motion H back and whatnot. And their MVP for Castle was Kanahe Kalahiki Gohir because he was also lead blocking as well as running the ball. So that's why I felt like we needed to list him as a fullback because rushing stats may not be there on the top, but a fullback is more than just a running back because they have to be a lead blocker. So definitely the key cog to that offense. Roosevelt had a very high-powered offense with Ioane Kamana'o as well as Keawe Davis. Keawe Davis getting the Offensive Player of the Year. Just real solid and real consistent for a Roosevelt team that, I know backup quarterback Kea Bush was also in the game. So whoever was throwing Keawe Davis the ball, he produced. And defensively, that's a star-studded group. I think you got multiple middle-level defenders for Roosevelt in getting in there. But, Tea Nuhiva Santos, he was the guy in the middle for a really strong Kaiser defense. I know Coach Tim Simmons is really good on defense, but Tea probably could have won it last year as well. So very deserving for those boys in Division II, as well as all these teams. One thing we try to do is make sure that at least there's some representation from every team, That's why you kind of see that all-purpose position because, hey, sometimes a player is just playing multiple positions that he's never going to get the stats to get an award. So, yeah, I think it was really good. I haven't seen any complaints except for one player that only got there late in the season, putting a laughing emoji.
I don't know. I didn't see any Kapa'a players, so I was just picking. Yeah, no, also shout out Chad Nelson, who's giving a little shout out to Coach Seaman.
And Kaiser. Shout out Kaiser Cougars again, yeah. No. I love high school football here, man. I also just love that Scoring Live does this. I love any type of recognition from any type of media outlets to kind of just recognize the hard work that a lot of these young men and just a lot of these people put in, because these are also kind of coaching awards in a way where it's like, especially at the Division II level, a lot of the development that you see year over year, like it's awesome. So I'm always happy to see the recognition. Also, I'm happy that we have Michael to make some pretty fun graphics because it seemed like all the kids liked those on Twitter over the weekend. And as you guys were talking about games on demand, I checked our stats for our podcast stuff, and one game that has made the rounds again is, I believe, is Pearl City and Kalani from last season.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even think it was last season. I think it was 2023. So people hey, shout out to all of you guys that are listening. It was like 30 plays this morning. Something like, whoa. All right, it's getting shared again. So the shout out and thank you to all of you guys that are listening to our broadcast on demand. And we're fortunate and we love bringing that and doing that for a lot of these kids that especially the games won't be on TV. So at least we
have
can
one
do it on
tomorrow.
radio. We do have one tomorrow. I am still waiting for confirmation from the AD at Kalaheo, but we will.
But we hopefully
have
have
it
one
on
more.
our schedule. We have our first OIA girls basketball game on the schedule between Kalani and Kalaheo tomorrow evening at 6:00 p.m. All right, before we go to break, since we've been talking about football, and as we mentioned, you know what, Jaron and some of the other kids are going to all of these big football schools, which is great for them, but I want to make sure we continue to shout out Fantastic Sam's. I believe they're kind of working through their finalists right now, but nonetheless, for all of the kids that are interested at playing football at the next level, make sure you check out Valley City State University. Again, that's Valley City State University and Fantastic Sam's. They were providing a unique opportunity for high school football student athletes in the class of 2025, giving out a scholarship to Valley City State University. And if you guys are interested in that school, just go ahead and Google it, or you can text us and we can send you the direct link. Go to vcsuvikings.com. That's vcsuvikings.com and submit the Recruit Me form. And Michael did a couple of feature stories as well. We'll be sure to share that to all of you guys so you guys can learn a little bit more, because there are quite a few and like couple handfuls worth of Hawaii players that are already there. So you're not going to somewhere that seems completely foreign. You got other Hawaii kids that if you're a football player, again, class of 2025, didn't select a school yet or looking at other options, make sure you guys check out Valley City State University, and shout out to Chad and Fantastic Sam's for wanting to do this for a lot of these high school kids, especially those that maybe will go unnoticed, right? And not see all the bright lights of everyone getting these big time offers. But hey, as a Division II student athlete that they played at the next level, every opportunity to play and to get your school taken care of is like the best thing ever.
Yeah, and they definitely don't. The athletic scholarship doesn't have the same level of aid as maybe some of the bigger schools, but because they are in the NAIA, I don't know what I just said earlier. You're able to stack academic and athletic scholarships. So if you're already taking, you're being excellent on the field and in the classroom, combined with the low cost of living in North Dakota, it is a pretty affordable option for definitely our constituents here in Hawaii if they want to send their kids to collegiate football. It's a good option. I don't know how else to say it, but we do have to look out for the other guys. Not everybody here can afford to golf on the weekend.
100%.
So
as someone whose dream school was UCLA, my parents shot that down real quick. Like they're like, "Are you gonna get an academic scholarship?
"Keep
Are you gonna get a
dreaming."
soccer scholarship?" They're like, "Yeah, no thanks. We're not taking like out $100,000 loan just so you can go to your dream school at UCLA." So
your
I
dream
get
school?
it.
That's why it's a dream.
Yeah. Keep dreaming, girl.
Oh,
That's
Lordy.
what it was. So now you can live out a dream and play at the next level. Again, don't regret anything about going to Chaminade for myself. All right, gonna take a break. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den alongside Paul Brecht and Michael Lescaro. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani. Mahalo for tuning in this and every weekday morning from 8 to 10 on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network and streaming live every Monday, like right now, on our YouTube channel, including other things now that volleyball has started and basketball. You guys will be able to check out a lot of stuff like Michael's highlights, although the people are already wanting more of the volleyball highlights that we got to comment on.
To work.
Some of the post game press conference that is, I know, like people enjoy seeing, especially when it comes to men's volleyball. They just like to see what the coaches and players have to say after that, and some of the media avails throughout the week. So a lot of stuff revamping our YouTube channel, and shout out to everyone that has their interest in men's volleyball, because we gained a ton of subscribers when we just posted
Over 600.
Oh my gosh.
We give the people what they want.
Yes.
But you have to show us that you want it.
Yeah.
So
That is why we say
we also have a
comment,
Facebook
subscribe.
page that is under like 200, 300 followers. I know, people love Facebook, so you guys got to get on there and boost our Facebook numbers so we can get some content on there as well.
Okay. I was going to say,
I'm not a Facebook guy, so I can't blame people. But I get it. But no, that's why it's why we ask people to comment. It's why we ask you to like, subscribe, like all of these different things, because when you do interact with certain content more, it does tell us, hey, the beautiful people like this or want this. I mean, we have over 3,000 views on 2 volleyball videos that were posted less than 36 hours ago. So clearly you guys like volleyball. And we also do the same thing or some of the same stuff with basketball. We'll have some of the basketball avails up there as well, and so on and so forth. So like we mentioned, leave a comment, drop a like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, all of it, and stick around for this wonderful ride, because we definitely, that is one thing I will brag about. I get plenty of compliments to our team about the amount of digital coverage that we have day over day, every single day. It's a lot. So there's a lot for you beautiful people to pick from, so I hope you check it out. You can also check out our website, hawaiisportsradio.com.
Yeah. All of those.
I was going to say,
I love it. I love it. I love
hit
it.
every single one.
Yeah. Which, by the way, our one of our digital managers, she needs to still update the OIA schedule. So that actually, no, our OIA broadcasts for basketball are up there. So if you go to hawaiisportsradio.com, our upcoming OIA basketball schedule is there. Just the regular programming guide. Don't go to that yet. So just the OIA schedule, if you guys want to know what we're carrying, again, presented by Fun Factory, where our VIPs of the game, that'll be our player of the game now for volleyball and baseball, softball season. And check this out, guys. Because of Fun Factory, the players of the games for the broadcast that we go to get a $100 token gift card to go and take their friends or their family to go enjoy Fun Factory. So, shout out to Fun Factory for contributing and doing these things for our OIA student athletes. Again, you can go to hawaiisportsradio.com, click on the OIA sports tab, and you can see our upcoming basketball schedule as well as the other games on demand that you may have missed. All right, but speaking of basketball, going back to the UH Manoa side, Hawaii. Whew. We were talking about it leading up to Saturday night, and we were a little worried about the new head coaching at Cal Poly. They were able to take Irvine of all teams to overtime. They play at a really, really fast pace. Luckily, not too fast for the University of Hawaii, handling business as they should, beating Cal Poly 68-55. Gides Namiksha, again, he heard what we were saying, Paul. There you go. Gides Namiksha led the Bows with 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. And Tom Beatty had himself a game as well, getting the Mana Award, finished with 15 points off the bench and just 1 point off his career high. Meanwhile, Tanner Christensen notched his 3rd double-double of the season with 11 points and 10 rebounds. So, like I said, good bounce back when you always want to defend home court, but as the Big West schedules goes, you guys know they play 2 at home and 2 away opposite weeks now that we're in the schedule. The worst thing that could possibly happen, because we know what we saw from the University of Hawaii women's team last year in being undefeated on your home court. It's hard for anybody, even to the likes of your Long Beach States and Irvines and whatnot. So, but at anything, you don't want to drop both games at home. So that was the major thing. Looking at this Cal Poly team, I was a little worried, but the Rainbow Warriors, fortunately, were like, Kool-Aid, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And they came out and showed up and showed out and were able to get that win before heading on the road this week and playing at UC Riverside.
Yeah, this Saturday's win was critical. I mean, I talk about it a lot, how you always have to split. You have to get a few sweeps. Hawaii has now put themselves in a place where, realistically speaking, you have to sweep on the road at one point now, right? And the way that you kind of think about the conference schedule, or at least the way that I think about it, you have 20 games, right? And if you split that all into 2-game trips, right? 10 on the road, 10 at home. You want to go 10-0 at home, obviously. Protect the house, protect the stand, protect whatever you want to say. Well, now you lost one of those games. In my mind, 5-5 on the road is a very respectable record in conference play. It's really hard to play on the road. It's really hard to win conference games to begin with. You add those together. I think it's fair to ask for a 500 record there. Now you have to put yourself at a game above 500, right, to kind of make up for what you were hoping for at home. That's why it was so big, and it's why you can't lose 2 games at home, because it completely throws off the calculation. It was a really nice job by Hawaii. Just, they slowed down the fastest team in the country.
Yeah.
Cal Poly averages almost 77 possessions per game. It's the most in the country by almost 1.5 possessions. That's a lot for those of you who may not know. 1.5 possessions more than the next closest team, by the way. And they only had 62. They had 62 possessions against Hawaii. That's 15 less than their season average. And on top of that, you saw Hawaii hold them to, I think it was just 31% shooting from the field. Defense was good from start to finish. And even when the Mustangs had runs, when they made that push, because you and I talked about it, Koo, on Friday, Cal Poly was not a team that's going to just let you play 20 minutes and then buckle at halftime. They're a team that's going to force you to play all 40, and Hawaii played all 40 minutes. Every time Cal Poly had a run, it seemed like Hawaii responded, and part of that is because Gitas did Gitas things, and part of that is because we saw Tom Beatty start to kind of break out of this pumpkin that we've seen him in over the last month or so.
Yeah, and I want to point out something pretty significant in looking at the final box score. Well, one, Hawaii only having 11 turnovers. I know that's been kind of a struggle. But 2, probably my favorite thing looking back at as Coach Koo, and you guys know, one of the most important things to me are free throws. Looking at the final box score, percentage is one thing in terms of shooting, but if you look at the actual numbers, Cal Poly 22 for 65 from the field. And the threes, though, Cal Poly 7 for 31 and Hawaii 7 for 21. So making the exact same amount of 3-pointers, that cancels each other out, and overall the same amount of field goals. But from the free throw line, Hawaii 15 for 20 and Cal Poly just 4 for 6. So Hawaii not putting Cal Poly on the line, but when you look at back, and it's rare that happens. Usually you kind of see Hawaii get outshot, especially from long distance. But Hawaii being able to hit 75% of their free throws was really significant in this game and making it feel like they were ahead more than they potentially actually were when it came to actual field goals. So make your free throws, kids. And I thought that was important to point out where, one, Hawaii playing clean basketball and limiting a lot of those fouls, not sending Cal Poly to the line so that they could get their free shots. But Hawaii also taking care of business when they were at the line as well. So to me, that's kind of rare where I look back at the final box score and I'm like, oh, the actual shooting is pretty much identical in terms of the amount of baskets made. Again, the percentage will always fluctuate, but you just look at the actual amount of baskets made from the field and the 3-point line, and it all coming down to free throws. And again, Coach Koo, as Joe says, make your free throws, kids.
It's been a frustration of mine this year because Hawaii does not shoot free throws exceptionally well as a team, or had not been shooting them exceptionally well. It's gotten better over the past couple of games. This one was very, very important. And when you are a team like Hawaii, who isn't necessarily one who's going to light it up from 3-point range, that's not to say that they can't shoot, but it's not a team. I mean, you hear Iran say it all the time. They're never a team that's going to live and die by the three. They want to play their defense. They want to play the possession game. They want to get the ball down low, work for good shots, and that's what you saw in a lot of ways. It was nice to see Tanner Christensen in this game get a few more touches as well. In the second half, especially in the first half, it was so frustrating to watch where you have I want to call Cal Poly the smallest team in the Big West. I don't know that for fact. I have to go through and look at every roster.
But they were pretty small.
They're pretty small, right? They don't actually employ a big man. Their biggest guy was like 6'8" that actually played. And even so, 6'8", there are different types of 6'8", right? There's like a Harry Ruliadeff 6'8" that's a little more sturdy. And then you also have the Gitas Nemishka 6'8", who's like athletic and strong. And you have like a 6'8" who's like wiry thin, right? And none of those are what you want against Tanner Christensen or really anyone in the front court for Hawaii. So I was glad they attack a little bit more in the second half towards the paint, towards the rim, get more touches inside, and then you work inside out. It led to some really nice looks from beyond the arc as well. You got some shots in rhythm, and that's part of the reason why they were able to counteract every single Cal Poly run throughout the night. It was a nice performance for UH against a team in Cal Poly who's still not going to really be a top of the Big West team this year, but this is a far better Mustangs team than what we've seen the previous two seasons.
Yeah, and what we will get to see down the stretch. So looking forward to more stuff. Again, UH playing at UC Riverside coming up, and we'll have more of the extensive preview as the week goes on. But taking a look at the updated Big West men's basketball standings, you have UC San Diego and UC Irvine at the top, both undefeated in conference, and CSUN and Riverside 3-1. Then you have UC Davis, Cal State, Bakersfield, and Long Beach State each at 2-2. That should be a Hawaii win, though. It should be 1-3. Dang it. UC Santa Barbara and Hawaii 1-2 in conference, and Cal Poly and Cal State Fullerton still looking for their first win in conference. And if we take a look real quick at UC Riverside, they are coming off of a 81-57 loss at UC Irvine. So, whew. And then before that, they actually beat and won at Long Beach State. So there's your common opponent. They beat Long Beach State 76-60. And as we know, unfortunately, Hawaii wasn't able to win at Long Beach State to open up the Big West Conference, technically, during Bold Week. So again, Paul and I will look to have a fuller preview of that upcoming matchup. But this now, Hawaii goes on the road once again to play at UC Riverside this Thursday. It would be at 5:00 p.m. Hawaii time that you can watch on ESPN Plus. All right, gonna take a break and we'll be right back to close things out on this Aloha Monday. Manana on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Lescaro. All right, we were talking about men's volleyball a little earlier in the first hour, actually. By the way, if you guys missed anything, you can either watch it on demand on our YouTube channel, or you guys can listen at hawaiisportsradio.com or wherever you get your podcasts, that being Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, all of that good stuff. So thank you guys for tuning in and listening on demand. And that's actually why you guys are the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. But when we're talking about volleyball and we talk about Adrian War, one of the freshmen, it's too early to say freshman phenom. You know, we want to see him play against a little bit of an elevated competition at first, but looking good so far. But I don't know if you guys saw it, right? I'm pretty sure it was Adrian, and I forgive me as I just thought of it as we were coming back from break, and I should have looked it up, but maybe I can look it up here. But they did kind of like these like intros on the men's volleyball Instagram of like Q&As, and I swear Adrian's one, when it said his favorite food, said spam musubi. Like, I need to go look at it.
You're definitely gonna have to look it up because I have no idea. But that would be
like, what? It goes into the spam Hawaii bowl that we were talking about, that a lot of the beautiful people suggested of having the spam
favorite food, right?
Yeah.
And he's from France.
Yeah, so
Which
maybe it's
is
his
why
new. That's
I'm
why I
like,
gotta look up the exact like newcomer thing that it said, because
That's
I'm
so
like, wait a
interesting.
minute, it does say. Okay, I have it here. Obviously, it's too late for me to put up a graphic, but it's the graphics on the men's volleyball Instagram page that says "Get to know freshman Adrian Rohr," and then it says "Hometown Lyon, France," as we know.
Lyon.
Favorite food? No indication of favorite food here, but favorite food ? Says deluxe spam musubi from 7-Eleven.
That's so
7-Eleven, get on that. And
That's
he's
insane.
international though. That gets a little tricky, but
just go out on a boat.
yeah.
All you have to do.
Go back to France.
No. Go like it's like 15 feet offshore in a boat, and then you can sign the deal. That's like all you have to do, because that's what West Virginia did to steal Jesse Edwards away from Syracuse.
Well, there you go.
Sorry.
But yeah,
He can
deluxe
make
spam
a-
musubi.
He can make a.
You
He
sound
can
good.
make an Instagram video of him making spam musubi. And,
True.
But it's not the deluxe one from 7-Eleven, which I must attest to. I know I told you guys I can't eat spam by its like self, like separate from the rice. I can only eat spam like when it is in a musubi, and I must say that I will concur that the deluxe spam musubi is like bomb, because it has a little bit of the extra noti and everything in there. So, but yeah, I thought I'd share that because that tripped me out, where I was going through the Instagram and I'm like, is this for real? Like, and even Paul had the same look on his face, like, isn't he from France? And
That's
that's
the
his
thing.
favorite
It's like,
food.
my brother.
So
You
hey,
live in one of the
you
like
guys,
three
he's one of
culinary
us
capitals
already.
of the world. That's why I was like, man,
that's true. France has good food.
like if you're gonna talk about your claim to fame here in Hawaii, like heck yeah, you're like, yeah, we got better food in France. We got the French kid coming over saying he likes our snacks a little bit better.
He likes spam musubi.
It's so funny. I love that.
So
It's so fun.
It is really cool. You guys can check it out on their Instagram. They have like individual graphics of the newcomers. So it has like, what superpower would you have? And Adrian said, I would love to be able to teleport myself everywhere and discover the world. Another one. This kid and I have a lot in common, because I think that would be a really cool superpower to have as well.
Who just ghost wrote.
Especially because flying on airplanes is too scary. I still get anxiety, but it would be nice to just teleport. That would make life so much easier. And then interests/hobbies outside of volleyball, as every other college kid, video games. So I feel like a lot of them are like that as well. But yeah, I thought I'd share that with you guys, because it kind of like surprised me, as we got the pure surprise from Paul as well with the spam musubi. Some of the other ones, we know Kainoa Wade, obviously for hometown Kailua Oahu. Favorite food, sushi. No surprise.
I see that.
He's another one. Superpower would be the ability to teleport. Interest, hobbies outside of volleyball, golf, pickleball, and cruising. Okay, golfer. Like,
I might have
He's
to
so
tell him to
fancy.
run the ones on pickleball, apparently. You know.
All right, here's another potential fan favorite. Christian Tatriski, Alda Sofia, Bulgaria. Favorite food, pasta. As he mentioned that he was able to, he said.
That's so funny, actually. I didn't realize that.
He said that he was able to eat some pasta and play how he did yesterday. So there you go.
That's the season. That's going to be the season storyline.
Yeah, that his favorite food, he did mark it, that his favorite food is pasta. What superpower to fly? I mean, I guess he kind of flies now, so that's not too different. Interests/hobbies outside of volleyball. I like to spend time with my friends and watch movies. Well, that's pretty good. Yeah,
What a nice kid.
But no, my ultimate takeaway is that the French kid, Adrian War, loves the deluxe bamboo musubi from 7-Eleven. And I'll just leave you guys with that. For Paul Brecht, Michael Escaro, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Mahalo for listening. It's been Wake Up in the Den. Bye!
Home of the Los Angeles